How did they explain an explosion in a house that has no utilities?
That's what actually brought um, Memphis, Tennessee news, Little Rock news, Jonesboro news. This is what brought all these news stations down there because that was that was the million-dollar question.
You're watching the Spotlight Network, starring Hollywood's
And if
newsman,
you were just
Logan
trying to get
Crawford.
investigators, they now believe a single member.
He works with TV and film legends. And now, Logan's shining the spotlight on the world's top emerging authors and creators.
International were abducted.
This is Spotlight with Logan Crawford, streaming on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire TV.
I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're shining a light on a haunting true story of injustice, perseverance, and faith. We're talking to a terrific author. His name is Kent Handy, and he has penned a mind-blowing book. It is called The Dark Secrets of Woodruff County. This powerful book exposes a decades-long cover-up surrounding the murder of 5 innocent children in the Deep South and one man's relentless fight to uncover the truth. Through courage, compassion, and conviction, the author takes readers on a journey that reveals not just a tragedy, but the power of love and determination to seek justice, no matter how long it takes. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today. We thank the team at 7 Chapter Literary for helping us put him on TV today. And we ask viewers like you to support authors like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his amazing book. The links are below this interview. Kent, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
This is an incredible story. It dates back to 1984, March 1st into March 2nd. 5 children are murdered, and they're your siblings, right?
Yes, sir. Four were my siblings, and the 16-year-old was my first cousin. That was my aunt's only son.
This kind of crime you would think would get national attention, the murder of 5 children, and it didn't really. It got some attention, but it didn't get the attention that it deserved, that's for sure. Tell us about what happened on that night in 1984.
Um, I had recently come home from basic and AIT military training, and I had went out to a cafe that night. My youngest brother that's living now was the DJ, and so I was just hanging out there, showing my support and anyway trying to relax my own self. And because we had just lost our home that we had built from the ground up and all of that, so we was going through a lot already. And I was out there trying to relax, and all of a sudden, um, my sister's boyfriend busted through the door and ran to my table and told me that my house had just blown up and that it was on fire. And I wasn't sure if I heard him right the first time, so asked him what, and he said it again. Your house is blown up and your house is on fire. And I jumped up from the table. I ran up to the DJ stand, told my brother that Mr. Hill had said that our house had blown up and was on fire. So me and him both, he just left everything as it was. We took off running out of the cafe, and I didn't own a car at the time, so I was actually running to the house. I could see the glow of the fire in the sky, but at that time I was hoping it wasn't my home because we was a big family. I'm the second oldest of 12, and I knew that someone was always at home. So I was running home and hoping that it wasn't my home. And but the closer I got, I realized it was. I turned off like a block from the street that the house set on, trying to shortcut to it, get there as quick as I could. But my brother, he kept straight, and he ran past this private all white cafe, and a bunch of guys was outside smoking and drinking, and when he ran past them, they start calling him all kind of names and everything. They didn't know why he was running past them. They were just doing what they would normally do. It was kind of common in that little town anyway, for people to pass by and call your names or whatever. And I made it to the house before him. And when I got to the house, there was two firemen standing there with their arms folded. And they say I asked them, was there anybody in the house? And they kind of brushed me off and said, because I put my hand on his shoulder, he knocked my hand off his shoulder and said, I don't know, but if it is, they dead by now. And they said that the someone had gone back to the fire department to get a wrench to turn on the water hydrant. They didn't have a wrench to put water on the fire, and it was apparently stalling, like they was not not normal reaction for someone that possibly could be losing their life. Anyway, as I stood there, um, people started gathering around, and I thought I had a little hope that maybe because the truck was gone, maybe the kids was gone with my mom. Just maybe this one time somebody's not home. Then the truck pulled up. My mom jumps out, start going into a frenzy, and I knew then somebody was in the house.
Hmm.
And from that from that point, we got the axe and started chopping on the house, trying to cut through the room, my mother's bedroom, because we knew that's where the kids were sleeping at, with the utilities off in the house. There was no utilities, no lights, no water, no gas, and they some I saw three guys with khaki uniforms and rifles come out of the backyard. They come from this little shed back there, a little tool shed. They came out of it and they came up to the front of the house with rifles. And one looked at me. I could see I could see his concern in his face. He looked me in my face and I said to myself, but I said it out loud enough that the person next to me could hear it. I said, "This is a hit." And they had their rifles. I mean, who go to a house fire with rifles? And they had on khaki uniforms, so I know I didn't know them. And our town policemen, they dressed in blue uniforms, so I didn't recognize them as a police at that time. But we later found out that they were Patterson police, which is where the house sheriff, where he lived, where they would have their Klan meetings and all of that. So I know now that that sheriff ordered that hit. And so we stood there trying to get the bodies out. My brother came and actually ran in the house, because the house at this time now is spot burning, because it's done burnt. The front of it is gone. Because many people said that they heard a loud explosion, so stuff was all out in the front yard, and it was two new gas cans in the backyard that we didn't get because we didn't want to tamper with evidence, not knowing at the time that every calculated move that they was doing, they was covering it up right in our face. Yeah, they pulled guns on us. They made us put the axe down, and they called us all type of N words, and they ordered to kill the next one of us come up to that house to try to save anybody, kill them and leave them there. And all the things that I'm telling you, Mr. Crawford, I have court documents, I have testimonies, I can prove what I'm saying. And then, and there's, as you stated, you know, this story is, most people tell me it's hard for them to believe that it's true until they realize that it is.
Yeah.
It's
It's
just
so shocking. Let me ask you this. How was this explained to you? Afterwards, did they try to give up a cover story or something to you? How did they explain an explosion in a house that has no utilities?
that's what actually brought um Memphis, Tennessee news, Little Rock news, Jonesboro news. This is what brought all these news stations down there, because that was that was the $1 million question. And they justified it by saying someone in our house went outside to a gas riser, tried to illegally hook up a black line, a piece of rubber hose, and tried to get gas to come into the house, and that blew the house up. Well, the problem with that was all of the floors were still solid. The space heaters were still plugged up to the lines in the house, so it couldn't have erupted from gas. On top of that, Arkansas Pipeline Commission came down and did an investigation, and I have a copy of that investigation where they said that that's not what happened. It could not have happened. All of the risers still had the locks in in um, in the pipes, and there was no meter. Period. All of the riser had the locks in the pipe, and the plus the hole could not circumvent because it didn't fit. It wouldn't have circumvented enough to for that to even happen. And we already knew. We looking this was all the things they were doing was basically telling us that they was trying to cover it up. It didn't because none of it made sense to us. For instance, after the fire, after we went home, went down to my grandmother's house, they they came down there about 7 or 8 o'clock that morning. It was probably about 4 hours after we had left the scene because we was out there to about 4 in the morning. And we left the scene and went down to my grandparents' house. We was all in shock. And there was a knock at the door, and it was the coroner. And he came in and said, "I want to speak to Mrs. Armstrong," which was my mother. And she came out of my grandmother's bedroom and came into the living room, and he told her, "I wanted to speak to you because I want your permission to put those bodies in the ground today." 4 hours after they was murdered. And my mother said, "My babies are not even cold yet."
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
And well, I can't say too much because I could get shot in the head. See, I could get a bullet. I can't say too much. So I want you to promise me that you or no one in your family would try to open any of those caskets. And from that day to this one, Mr. Logan, we don't know if anything is in those caskets because they put them down in the ground in boxes before we even got to the gravesite. We was never allowed to identify a body, any of that.
Shocking. There's so many irregularities, so many discrepancies in this story, so many things that don't make sense. Let me ask you this. Why do you think they targeted your family?
They targeted my family because of my mother's boyfriend.
Mhm.
The honest truth. Okay. The small towns, rural Arkansas is more or less farmlands. And my mother's boyfriend was stealing farm chemicals. He was stealing basogram, traflans, that kind of stuff. The stuff that caused people no longer to need it to chop the weeds out of the crop. They maybe 1 gallon of that may mix with 100 gallons of water, and they would spray the fields, and the only thing would grow up is the crop instead of all of the weeds, where they had to hire people to go and chop the weeds out of the crop. So um, he was stealing their farm chemicals, and he took some to another farmer. The other farmers would be glad to get it because they was getting it for half price of what they would have had to pay, and as long as they was a farmer. But somehow it got twisted. It got mixed up to one of the guy's stuff he taken. He sold it to that guy's cousin, and then they set him up, and he went to prison for 3 years for it. When he
So there
came,
was bad blood there. They were after your
mother's
mother's
boyfriend.
boyfriend. Collateral damage, if you will, were the 5 dead children.
Mhm.
Um, what about an investigation? Your investigation has shown that there are ties to the Ku Klux Klan,
Yes, sir.
police corruption and cover-ups.
It's the
And
same.
has anyone ever been questioned, arrested, or charged in this?
No, sir. And
Yeah,
this is why I have been beating the pavement for 41 years, Mr.
yeah.
Crawford.
Amazing. How
Hmm.
old were you at the time in 84?
I was 24 years old,
Yeah.
but just come home from swearing an oath to defend my country and my constitution. And
Yeah.
I had the weight of the world put on my shoulders in one night. What they didn't know was the same day of the night that it happened, I came to the house and my mother told me that she finally done made up her mind we're going to move out of this town.
Yeah.
The kids had started packing some of the things in boxes. They were so excited th-
Mm.
because they was going to move to Newport. It wasn't far away. It was only 35 miles away, but that town had a park and this town didn't. They said we're going to be able to go to the park. They were so excited about moving. They figured that we would have a better life just starting over, and they killed them that night. One night we all up laughing, and even the house was dark. We stay up all night, and we would sleep during the day because didn't feel safe sleeping in the night with no utilities. And the next night, everybody was dead. All those that they murdered.
Unbelievable.
That
Unbelievable. We're
was that was
almost out of time, but let me ask you this. I know the FBI at one point interviewed some of the people in the town about the crime.
Yes, sir. The same guy that told us that this was the Klansmen that did it. He was riding in the car with the police when they sent back over, when the pathologist sent word that we're going to say they all died of smoke inhalation. Now, this man was made to resign. Bill Clinton, that was governor then, made him resign because he had 20 some cases of fraud against him, which when, at the time that we told them that he had taken a payoff to falsify the death certificates, they act like we was crazy for saying something like that. But in time, he was made to resign because he wasn't a man of truth. This is one reason why I want the bodies exhumed even to this day, because even after we had went to a court that was over within a week, people were still calling the attorney saying these white residents was calling saying if you get the bodies up, you automatically win your case, and they was anonymous and they would hang up. So we know something
You
is in that
think the
grave.
children might have been killed before the fire?
I know they was killed before the fire.
Yeah.
I bought the 16-year-old's picture back to New York and took it to the coroner's office here. And they told me, Mr. Henry, I don't have the body in front of me, but according to this picture, this is a gunshot wound to the head. You can clearly see the entrance of the bullet and the exit on the other side of his head.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. If you had a magic wand and you could see something happening with this case, what would you want it to be? The Department of Justice perhaps opening an investigation into it?
Yes, sir. Well, I have spoken with them again, and I went to the Arkansas Attorney General's office, and the investigator there told me that his superiors won't let him go any further, but he was willing to um, pass his information on to the FBI here. And he told me that they seem to be taking it very seriously. But I just turned 65 a few days ago on the 22nd of October. I I my mother passed without justice. My grandparents done passed without justice. I don't want to leave this world without justice, without closure. I just think a good start would be to exhume the bodies. Let's find out. Let the grave tell us and show us what happened. Because I was told by one of the guys that been telling me everything was one of the white guys, and he was getting this information from them. He with the police and all them. They used him to even help destroy the evidence in the house, cut the floors up and all of that. They was there throwing stuff out the house before the fire marshal ever came. As a matter of fact, the fire marshal supposed to have been there at 9 o'clock that morning, and then they turned around and said he broke his leg. We got to wait on another one. Okay, and when another one came with no tools and nothing, and they went and got this guy, the one that's been telling me they had a meeting at that private club saying that they was going to kill my mama's boyfriend. That was the reason they was at the house. I mean, I got witnesses that they saw him in the backyard. All of this, it's just it's
Have
amazing.
what they call probable cause. You
I'm
have
on that.
enough evidence to make law enforcement probe further and find out what happened that night, exhume the
Yes,
bodies, perform autopsies, figure out whether they died before the fire, and
right.
then start pulling in people who are around and in the area the night of the fire and start an extensive investigation. That's our hope as well. The name of the book we've been talking about today, like I said in the beginning, it is mind blowing. It is called The Dark Secrets of Woodruff County. It is more than a book. It is a testament to the human spirit, faith, and unrelenting pursuit of truth. Kent Handy's courage ensures that the voices of the lost will be finally heard. That is our hope. That is our prayer. Kent, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me, Mr.
I
Crawford.
appreciate your time, your insight, the courage it takes to speak about this atrocity, and your unrelenting pursuit for justice. Thank you for that. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time.